Hey everyone, today I wanted to do a tier list of all the movies that I saw that came out in 2023. We still have more than a month left, but I figured, there's nothing else I want to see from this year, so I'm just going to do it now. I saw 33 movies and then I added in one TV series. And I started, whenever the first movie came out, The Pale Blue Eye, and then we're going to be ending with Thanksgiving, which was the most recent movie I saw. I did this on Letterbox, and so because I did a star ranking system, that's how I'm going to do it here. So if I'm being honest, before I get into this year for me for movies was pretty bad. I really only liked a handful of movies. Most of the movies that I was really looking forward to disappointed me or just didn't do that much for me. A lot of the movies that I kind of saw just to see if maybe I'd like them surprised me a little bit, but overall, for me, this is a pretty below average year. So a lot of these are going to be 3 stars and lower. Now, I'm not going to sit and talk about every single one for extended detail just so I don't bore you. But if it's, like a 3 star movie, maybe I'll get into why I think it's average, but I'm not going to, with every single one, be like, yeah, it's just boring. Because honestly, a lot of these kind of for me were just like, I'll never want to watch that again. So, like I said, we're starting off here with The Pale Blue Eye. This is a straight to Netflix movie with Christian Bale. It was kind of a decent mystery horror. I would say it would have been better if the pacing was better. It just kind of, for a lot of it, was really slow, and I was waiting for something to happen. I did like it by the end, but as it was going along, I was kind of losing interest and was kind of looking forward to this one being done. I'll put these also in order of how I feel about them. So from my favorite movie all the way to my least favorite. But for now, I'm just going to put The Pale Blue Eye at the start of 3 stars. Next is Megan. I was not a fan of this one. I didn't expect to like it. I just saw it because a lot of people were saying how it was actually good. I didn't expect to agree with that. I'm going to just put it somewhere there because I know I'm not really a fan of this one. I just found it to be like a very watered down version of like Chucky, and I found it very, I don't know, just generic. So really don't see myself ever watching that one again. Infinity Pool, I watched this one twice because the first time I was kind of, I don't know, I watched it in theaters and I was like expecting something different, and I was like, maybe if I give this one another chance, I'll like it. But I kind of felt the same way where I was like, there could have been more in this. I liked it more than Megan, but I think twice is enough for a movie that I didn't really find all that entertaining. Um, Knock at the Cabin was the M. Night Shyamalan movie that came out. I did enjoy this one. It's definitely on the higher end of 3 stars, closer to 4. There's nothing really wrong with it. I just kind of was, um, I don't know. I just, by the end of it, I was like, okay, that was fun, but I don't think I really need to watch it again. If I did, fine, but I didn't hate or love it. It was a good movie that I feel like I didn't waste my time on. So, Scream 6. Uh, Honestly, this is my least favorite probably in the series. This one or 5. I just don't like this new cast. I don't like the story that they have for them. I don't care if any of them die anymore. The only thing that I liked about this one was they brought back Kirby. Honestly, this movie just sucked to me. 5 and 6 are tied for last. 1 through 4 are all pretty good to me, and then after that, I just like I don't care anymore. I own 5 and 6, and I don't like them so much. Where I'm one of those completionists, I just might sell them because I really don't ever want to watch them again. I would probably say I like the Killers in 5 a little bit more, so I'd probably bump it up slightly above 6. That's about the only reason. Next is Nefarious. This movie was a very limited release. This is definitely on the higher side of 3 stars for me. A lot of people hated this because honestly, even though it's kind of labeled as a horror movie, it is, but you kind of have to be someone who looks at it from a Christian or, in my case, a Catholic point of view and kind of believe in it a little bit. So I found this one to not be scary, but this one, I'll admit, the thought of what the conversation is throughout this movie. Because honestly, this movie, for a large portion of it, is just a conversation between a man who claims he's a demon and like a lawyer or a psychiatrist or something. And I feel like some of what the demon was saying, I wouldn't say scared me, but it kind of gets in your head and it makes you think. And I thought that was kind of what, for me, made this one better than a lot of people. Now, in terms of a movie, I couldn't put any higher than 3 because honestly, I did buy it because I did like it, but I won't be watching this time and time again. Maybe like 3 more times at most throughout my life, even. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good, and I like Sean Patrick Flanery, but it's not like you gotta go watch it. Next is Evil Dead Rise. Now, this one, I've seen this 3 times. First time, I would have given it 2 stars. Second time, would have given it 4 stars. Third time, 3 stars. So, to me, the average of that would be 3 stars, but I can't really say that the reasons I don't like some things about this movie really aren't that big of a deal. So I'm going to put it on the low end of 4 stars. I just think that there are some things in this movie that were kind of like, I wouldn't say, it just felt like they had to throw a political agenda in some of this stuff. And it kind of bothers me. I don't like that movies do that. And I know the movie that I just talked about, Nefarious, people said the same thing. I didn't view it that way. I viewed it as a kind of a Christian movie. So I didn't view it as a political movie. Where this, I don't view it as a political movie either. It just has a few small things that I was like, just kind of felt unnecessary. It didn't like anger me. It just was like, I don't know why you felt the need to put that in there. But the rest of the movie, and if I overlooked those things, I really do feel like it is actually pretty decent. It is my least favorite, though, in the series of the Evil Dead movies. So it is going to be on the low end of 4 stars. I could see myself moving it to 3, just depending, but I just knowing my list here, there's going to be a lot of them in 3 stars, so I don't even think I'll have enough room. So next is a straight to Hulu movie called Clock, and it is about a woman who has a biological clock. She's getting older, and she doesn't want to have kids, but her husband does, but he's trying not to pressure her. And she decides that for him, she wants to have kids. And it turns into a horror movie, and I could see from a woman's perspective how this would be a horror movie. I would say rewatchability isn't that high for me personally, and I didn't dislike it in any way. I just didn't personally relate to it all that much. I'm going to put it in between Scream and Infinity Pool, because Scream, to me, I look at it as like, there's definitely people that like it more than I do, so I don't think it's just a bad movie and I'm putting it in 1 star because it's just bad, or 2 stars or whatever because it's bad. This was just more me. I just don't really like the cast, and I was hoping for more. So, yeah, so Clock, just okay. I wouldn't like stray anyone away from watching it. It's just, I feel like women could really relate to that one a lot more than me. Next is Fast and Furious 10, or Fast X. Was fine. Again, I don't think how I will watch this one too many times. I'm not even that big of a fan of these movies. I will put it behind Nefarious because it's just okay. Like, I actually thought that Jason Momoa as the villain was easier to root for than anyone in this movie. Just, I found him entertaining, and I thought he was like a fun villain, and I was just laughing at him the whole time. But his, like, not in a negative way, but like laughing out of enjoyment of his character. And I found it kind of fun because of that. But the movie is, you know how these movies get over the top, so I can't really say I enjoyed it enough to bump it anywhere higher than 3 stars. Consecration, I barely remember this one. I wouldn't watch it again. I just remember thinking like the idea of this movie was decent, and that was really about it. It just really kind of bored me, and by the end I was like, I wish I hadn't watched that. There was a couple of scenes that were decent, so I'm not going to put it in like 1 star, but yeah, didn't really like it. Boogeyman, kind of the same thing. I just felt this was a generic horror movie where I was honestly through a lot of it just like, yeah, I kind of want this to be over. I didn't enjoy it through I actually went to see this in the movie theater with a couple family members, and only one of us liked it. The rest of us were like, it's really not that good. And one of them even fell asleep. So that to me is not a sign of a great movie. Creed 3, uh, I'd probably put it here because it entertained me more than The Pale Blue Eye, and it kept my attention the whole way through. But I think out of all of the Rocky and Creed movies, this one is the worst because of the way they decided to shoot the fighting sequence or the boxing sequence at the end was not great. I wouldn't have minded it to have not been a boxing sequence, and it because it's more of a personal story to have had that Rocky 5 like street fight aspect to it. But I get that that didn't go over well. I like Rocky 5 personally. I don't mind any of the Rocky movies. Uh, one through Balboa, I can watch any of them at any time and enjoy them. So it's honestly the Creed movies that I find are okay, and I like two. I think two is probably my favorite, then one, and then three. Three's the only one I wouldn't say I'd ever rewatch. Where two and or one and two, I'd say if they were on like TV or I was like in the mood for a boxing movie, I'd watch them. They're all right, but Creed 3 is the only one that's the first in the series where I'm like, I really don't think I want to watch that one ever again. So next, this one's disappointing. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I didn't have much hope for this one, and it still disappointed me. Uh, if it wasn't for Harrison Ford and Miles Mickelson, I think is his name, this movie would be terrible. Yeah, it's behind Creed probably, where I would probably rather watch Creed 3 right now if you gave me the option between the two. I just think the CGI for this one ruined it. The story was boring. The like, I don't know what she is. The like friend of him. She's kind of trying to scam him throughout it. I don't remember her name. She was just like one of the most boring characters in the whole series. So, yeah, I didn't enjoy this one personally. Next is Insidious: The Red Door. There was things I liked about this one, but it didn't impress me that much. In the series, it's probably like towards the back. I'd say it's probably my second of like, or at least second least favorite. So 4 of the 5. If I'm ranking them 1 through 5, this would probably be my fourth. I think I'd rather watch Knock at the Cabin again than Insidious. So it's gonna go there for now. It's not bad. I just kind of was like, this is just a generic horror movie, but as an Insidious movie, it's fine. So, yeah. Now we're getting into some that I actually enjoyed. So, there's 3 in a row I enjoyed here. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning was pretty good. Now it's not my favorite in the series, and it's not even close. But I still feel like I had a enjoyable time with it, and I bought it. I'm going to rewatch it eventually. But I want to give it a second chance just because I feel like I could like it more. But when I first saw it, I was very tired and I was having a hard time keeping my eyes open. I fell asleep actually because like that night I'd only like slept like 2 hours and the movie was pretty early in the morning that I had to go see it, and that was like the only time I could go. So yeah, for me, I'm putting it in 4 stars because there's definitely room for improvement for it to move up to 5. I don't think it'll get there because there was things I definitely didn't like, particularly something involving Rebecca Ferguson and Haley Atwell. I prefer Rebecca Ferguson's character, and I didn't really like Haley Atwell's character. So if you know, you know. I won't go any further with that, just in case you still want to watch that movie. But that's all I'll say about that. But that's really my only like negative. So next is my favorite movie of the year by a long shot, Extraction 2. I love this movie. I've watched it multiple times. The action sequences in this are fantastic. The one shot like action sequences where the first one is like where he's in the prison and he's trying to like extract that family, and he's fighting off all the people in the jail. That was great. It's one of the best action sequences I may have ever seen, just because it looks like it's, for a lot of it, it is a one shot take. And then later in the movie, whenever he's fighting that guy on top of the giant tower, and it's kind of filmed that way. I don't remember if the whole thing is or just parts of it, but this one is like a really good sequel. Extraction 1 is good, but it's not one of my favorite movies of that year. Extraction 2 is my favorite movie of 2023, and it's not even close. Next is Oppenheimer. I'll say with this one, while I wouldn't put it in like my 5 favorites probably, and maybe if it is, it's just on the outside. I think it was a really good experience one time, and I enjoyed it, and I was like, yeah, it was interesting, but it has some really slow moving moments where I was like, also kind of expecting a little bit more involving the nuclear bomb itself, not so much his connection to people in the Communist Party, and kind of, I knew there was going to be the making of the bomb and science behind the bomb, but I was expecting more with the bomb itself and the like consequences of it. You kind of see that for portions of it, but I was expecting maybe a little bit more. So, but I still enjoyed it. Really good movie. I probably don't want to watch it again though anytime soon. Cobweb. We're getting back into the mediocre ones. So for me, Cobweb started off actually really good for about 75% of it. It would have been really high up on my list. And then that last, like, once the reveal happens and kind of the movie just goes, like, takes a complete turn of, like, the theme of the movie, and it kind of, for me, lost me. It would have been 4 stars and probably in between Evil Dead and Mission Impossible, but it really did lose me there, and because of that, I've got to put it probably between Knock at the Cabin and Insidious. It's just such a... It's like you just switch genres so quick, and it just didn't work to me. I really didn't like that last half. The first half is like a psychological mystery, and you just don't know what's going on. But then once the mystery happens, it's like Evil Dead, and it's just too weird. Like it's like comically bad, and the CGI is pretty bad. So yeah, I don't know. Just didn't like it very much. Talk to Me is next. So this is a movie that I can say I can look at and appreciate for the people that made it and be like, hey, you, a couple of YouTubers making a movie, you did a really good job. But to me, I just didn't really like it all that much. I kind of have a hard time watching movies where it's people doing drugs, and I know that's not what this movie is, but it's the kind of like, what's the word, metaphor of the movie where it's like people who get hooked on drugs, and it just kind of reminded me too similar to that, and I was like, I really don't like watching this one. It didn't like scare me or anything either, and I thought that the horror part of it was just okay. I did like moments in it enough to say that it's definitely a 3-star movie, but I don't know if I can, for me, go any higher. I just didn't love it. I thought it was good, but I don't really want to see it again. Renfield, I gave 3 stars. Just a fun kind of horror comedy. I wouldn't put it any higher, but I was close to making it 4 stars. But then I was kind of just like, you know what? By the end of it, I was like, yeah, I was kind of ready for that to be over. I was losing interest by the end. So I think Renfield, because of the comedy, really made it for me. But I was kind of like done by the end. Fool's Paradise is the first one that's going into 1 star. I like Charlie Day a lot. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is my favorite TV show ever. This just didn't do it for me. Wasn't funny. wasn't really interesting. Just big whiff for me. This is probably more for people in the industry, and I understood it. I just found it to be like, yeah, okay, let's get this movie over with. And when it ended, I was like, that's how it ends, huh? Okay, it's like, whatever. But yeah, didn't enjoy it. Strays. This is like, uh, I guess I'd put it in 3 stars. I'm almost tempted to go against my rating here. Uh, Nah, I guess I won't because I did give it 3 stars, but it's not bad and it is has a few funny moments, but I don't really want to see it again. Like that was like a one time I laughed at it and will probably never laugh at again. It's going there, but that's kind of being generous. Next is The Nun. Probably right there. It felt like the same exact movie from The Nun 1. I don't even know why I saw it. I don't remember. I didn't want to. Oh, someone bought tickets for us, and by that point, I felt like I was obligated to see it. And yeah, I left bored, didn't enjoy myself. So, Haunting in Venice, I enjoyed this quite a lot. Definitely the best for me in the series. It's I wasn't expecting a horror movie, but it has some horror in it. I was expecting like a detective, just like the first two, and like a crime thriller, but with some horror, and that's pretty much what I got. So I think this was a pretty good movie. I would definitely watch it again. I don't know if I think I'll put it below Mission Impossible because Mission Impossible is more rewatchable, but Haunting of Venice is probably for a one-time watch. I enjoyed it more. I didn't guess the the murderer or whatever you want to say either. I suspected, but I wasn't sure at the end. So yeah, that was an enjoyable one. 4 stars. And this one, No One Will Save You, was, if I'm looking at my list, my least favorite movie of the year. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is. So I don't have very many 1 star movies in here. I have 3, and this one just I was done with it so quick. I really didn't want to keep watching, but I felt like I was like, okay, I'm in it now. Might as well see how it goes. And I didn't like anything about it other than I like the actress Caitlin. I think her last name is Danvers. I know her from that TV show Last Man Standing with Tim Allen, so that's why I was interested enough. She was funny on that show, and she's a good actress. It's nothing wrong she did. I just thought the movie was dumb, and I didn't like anything else about it other than her. So yeah, won't ever rewatch that one. Saw 10. So this is again a movie of like 2 halves, where the first half of the movie I enjoyed a lot, and then kind of towards like the halfway point, there's kind of a twist, and honestly, it just didn't work for me. I'm putting it here because it is like dead even in the because it's like half of that movie I enjoyed. Like when the first set of traps are good, and then once somebody is revealed as something or whatever, I don't want to say too much. There's a reveal of what somebody's doing, and I was like, this just doesn't work for me. And from there on, I didn't like it, and I thought the ending was lame. Exorcist Believer. Now I see why people hate this one. I don't hate it, but like I said, I see exactly why people don't like it. I wasn't expecting like anything with this movie. I was like hoping it was going to be better, but I knew it wasn't going to be. So by the end, whenever I was like, okay, there was something in it that redeemed it. I'll just say the very like end of the possession part of it was just good enough to save it from being 2 stars because it did something different than most possession movies. And I'll just leave it at that, just in case you haven't seen it. I don't know how many 3 stars. I think I have like 1 or 2 left. So I'm gonna try to like overlap some of them here. probably. Okay. VHS 85, piece of shit. I love the VHS series, or at least I did. Kind of ruined the VHS Viral and 85 are just terrible. I like the other ones. That one, holy crap, is it bad? I will never watch it again, and I won't buy it. And I own Viral, so that'll tell you this is probably my least favorite. Nothing. I enjoyed nothing about it. It looks crappy. The segments are boring, and yeah, just won't watch that one again. Fall of the House of Usher. I liked a lot of this, but there was a lot I didn't like. Like I said, I don't like drug use, and I have a hard time watching it. So if you've seen this, you know how much drug use is in this. So for me, that was kind of bothersome to watch how much of it is in here. But I found that the way he like tied it all together merited like a lot of what's the word praise, I guess. So I would probably say it's better than 3 stars. But of the stories of his that I've seen, this is my least favorite. I've seen Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor. My favorite one was what is that one? It's like the vampire one. I can't remember, but I loved that one. And so this one for me was just that the amount of drug use really was like hard to watch. And there was no likable characters. I mean, that's the point, but it's like there was, I guess, one likable character, and so that was really, and she was barely in it. So, yeah. By the end, I was ready for it to be over, but I did enjoy it enough to put it in 3 stars. But like I said, there's enough for me to be like, I don't really want to watch anymore. Barbie. So there's a lot. I think Ryan Gosling was the only reason I watched this. Actually, I know it is. Because everything else without Ryan Gosling in this movie, I just wasn't into. I was like, it's just not really that funny when Ryan Gosling's not on screen. But when he's on screen, I was laughing like a lot just because I found him to be so hilarious just to even look at. And I'm glad he was in this movie because he made it at least a 3-star movie. I would probably say in between. We'll put it like there. I know that's like I'm running out of room here. I'll just do this. I'll put it off to the side. I think that's the last 3-star one. No, there's one more. Oh well. Okay, so that's where I'll put it for now. I did enjoy, like I said, enough with the Ryan Gosling moments, but yeah, the rest of the movie kind of was like, I was hoping for more of a comedy. I didn't realize there was this serious side to it, and I know that by the time I'd watched this movie had been long gone in theaters. Like I only saw this like a month ago, but I didn't have any interest in it until like I didn't watch anything about this movie. I didn't even know Ryan Gosling was in it. And then whenever I saw Ryan Gosling was in it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this now. I find him to be just hilarious, and he made the movie interesting for me. And I get this whole overall like story of the movie and what they're trying to say. I just was hoping for more of a comedy. That's all. So when Evil Lurks, didn't like it. I watched this one out of like everybody's like recommendation and praise of it. I feel like it didn't do anything I haven't seen before, other than the one scene with the dog. And if you know what it is, that's really it. And I was laughing at that. I honestly like. I didn't enjoy much about this movie, other than I just kind of was laughing at how like the kills I felt were pretty silly. And maybe that's just me, but like I usually watch horror movies and laugh. And this one I laughed at not so much out of enjoyment, out of like, man, that's just silly to me. So yeah. No Hard Feelings is the last one that goes in 3 stars. Uh, I will put it right there. I'm running out of room for sure here. But yeah, this was the last one I watched, or last comedy I watched of the year, and probably the best comedy of the year for sure. Um, I'm actually going to switch something, I think, because now that I'm looking at this, I would probably put Nefarious higher. Uh, put it there. So let's do this. Okay. So of the 3 stars, No Hard Feelings was definitely, I'd say, the best. Of the four or of the 2 stars, Scream was the best. And then these last two are 4 stars because I quite enjoyed them, and they were the last two that I most recently watched. So, give me a second here. I don't know why I'm even bothering organizing them, but I am. All right. So, The Killer with I'm terrible at names. What is his name? Michael Fassbender was probably my third favorite movie of the year. I think that's fair. Um, so as of right now, here's how it goes. And then I'll talk about The Killer here in a second. So 1 through 3, this is it as of right now, and I don't see that really changing. Keep getting text messages and it's like distracting me. uh, okay, so if I'm being honest, I will probably, like I said, never watch Oppenheimer again. So really, this is a 4-star movie to me because the movie is good. I just don't see myself ever watching it again. So really, I would probably put this somewhere in 3 stars. But 1, there's no room, and 2, it's definitely a better movie than a lot of these. So anyway, The Killer with Michael Fassbender. I watched this a few days ago, probably last week at this point, on Netflix. I think it's either Netflix or Hulu, whichever one it's on. This one surprised me. I wasn't expecting much. Was there small issues I had? Yeah. But I did enjoy it, and I found it to be a very like refreshing like movie. Like I wouldn't call it spy movie, but like assassin movie. Like most of them are like really action heavy, and this one's more of like a more realistic take on what I assume being an assassin, a professional hitman is like, and I found it to be really enjoyable. Now, the things that I mentioned that I didn't like, there's a scene, and I'm just someone who always catches this because I know guns enough, and I just know, you wouldn't do this sort of thing. So there's a scene where he's reaching in the glove box for his gun, and he he racks the gun or he pulls the slide back. So I don't know why you'd leave a gun in your glove box if as for self defense, if it's not already like ready to shoot. That's just me. I don't know if that's just my thinking of someone who carries a gun. I carry it loaded and not. I'm not. That's not unsafe. It's not cocked. I don't know how else to say it. It's if I have to use it, it's ready to go. So he's got it in his glove box and he racks it, and then he's running up to his house and he does it again. And it's like, okay, like you just emptied a round from the chamber. If they had paid attention to the details, and then again later in the movie, like 25 minutes later, he's in the back of a taxi cab and he's got the gun pointed at some guy and he's interrogating him. He's talking, and he's like, the guy's like, I don't know anything. And then he cocks the gun, and it's like, so you just pointed at technically a not loaded gun at the back of someone as intimidation. If you had to have pulled that trigger, nothing would have happened. And then we'll just say if it was cocked, again, you just emptied a round. Like it just Hollywood needs to pay attention to that stuff because it's like people who like shoot guns and like carry guns notice these things. Like, why would you do that? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Just small things, but other than that, I enjoy the movie quite a lot. I just wanted to like mention that little rant thing. But and then lastly, Thanksgiving was a lot of fun. That was everything I wanted from that movie. I guess I wanted some small other things, but not enough for me to be like, oh, I would even change it. It's definitely my second favorite. Um, I don't want to talk about it too much because like it just came out, but I did get a poster for it. It's a small poster, and it's not the poster that's right there. Unfortunately, I would have preferred that one, but I got it, and it's all right. I definitely enjoyed the movie. One of the best of the year. And if you're a slasher fan of like late '80s, early '90s, I'd say '90s more than '80s. It reminded me a lot of the movie Valentine. If you know what movie that is, it's like that, and there's another like it's got that cheesy like '80s feel to it, but it feels a lot like a '90s movie too. So I don't know how else to describe it, but if you're on the fence about it, I think this is definitely a fun movie. It is a close second. I would have already owned Extraction if it was possible, but because it's Netflix, they don't put things out most of the time. So I will be buying Thanksgiving. Fortunately, I can't buy The Killer. I own Mission Impossible. Haven't watched it yet. I don't think I'll buy A Haunting in Venice. I enjoyed it, but it was like a really good experience one time. Evil Dead Rise I own and I've watched a few times. Nefarious I own. Haven't watched it again yet. Is there anything in here? Scream 6. Like I said, I probably won't keep that for very much longer, and then that's it. So that's my list. I know that was kind of long, but yeah, that's everything I saw for the year. Let me know what you guys think. It's just my opinion, and I'm not saying I'm right. So, however you feel about these movies, maybe No One Will Save You was your favorite and you hated Extraction or something like that. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.